All right, welcome in. A very happy Friday to you now, July the 24th. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio, and we've got you covered here. A full 15-game slate in Major League Baseball. One game underway right now with Colorado visiting Milwaukee. Colorado out in front here, 3-1. In the bottom of the third, we'll get you all caught up with what's going on there. Great matchups across Major League Baseball tonight, including pretty good pitchers duel in Philadelphia with the Yankees and the Phillies. But, Tom, I'd be remiss if we did not start with Story blowing up everyone's phone here. And that, of course, a 95-year-old LeBron James has finally made his decision 9.3 or whatever it's going to be. He's decided on Philadelphia, and with absolutely no history whatsoever with Philadelphia. We saw a lot of the prediction markets looking at, Miami and Cleveland and maybe Steph Curry and Golden State, but you and I both knew he was never staying in the Western Conference. But Philadelphia for $8 million on 2 years says this will be his last announcement. I'll believe that when I see it. But the Philadelphia Sixers, did you run out and bet your championship ticket yet on that news?
I did not. We have seen a little bit of odds movement for Philly in terms of championship along with the Eastern Conference. They're just, half a step behind the Knicks in the Eastern Conference, up in that top tier, or that second tier, we should really call it when it comes to the NBA title overall. But I think this honestly is a good role fit for LeBron, and having an emerging player like VJ Edgecombe, having, I'm going to say, a star with Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown in the mix. LeBron, it doesn't have to be all on his shoulders, which is frankly a pretty good thing. And same thing with Embiid. And everyone's going to talk about, if Embiid's healthy. Well, if they just manage things properly, you have any one player in the lineup, and you have four of them, really. I'm not going to put Edgecombe there yet, but you have four different players in the lineup. That could give you 30 a night. And if you could rotate these guys in, have a solid health plan for all of them, you'll be healthy rolling into the postseason. And that team looks pretty dangerous at that point. So I think from a player standpoint, LeBron doesn't have to do the heavy lifting. It's a pretty good fit. I think the 76ers at this point are unbettable, just because if you don't have them pre-flop, you should not be betting them into the number at this point.
Well, I mean, they also wasn't the only move they made in the offseason, right? They brought in Anthony Simons. They brought in Dean Wade. And the only, and of course, Jaylen Brown. So, to go with Edgecombe and Maxey, I get it from a basketball standpoint. There's zero connection with LeBron in Philadelphia for a farewell tour here. And boy, it's going to be something else if you get bounced out because Embiid can't play in the postseason again in the first round. That's going to be kind of awkward. But aren't you a little worried about, it's one thing to try to protect Embiid and keep him ready for the post. Now you got two dudes in that bucket that you got to keep healthy the entire season in order to have them during the postseason. It's hard enough to keep one guy in that situation. Now you got to keep two of them?
Yeah, that is certainly going to be the task at hand for the 76ers management, for the strength and conditioning, the training staff. That is going to be their top priority. They got to have a very firm plan going into the season. This is something that we're going to constantly hear questions about, constantly hear, he's going to miss a week, whether it be LeBron, whether it be Embiid, but they need to have a solid plan going into the season. And frankly, I think they stack up well, at least in the Eastern Conference. And we mentioned this kind of briefly yesterday, that going back to the Lakers or going to the Golden State Warriors just didn't make sense, knowing that you're always looking up at the mountain that the Thunder and the Spurs are. So just getting to the conference finals in the West seems a bit tough. Now with the East, the Celtics are a bit weakened with no Jaylen Brown. What's their offense going to look like? We're not sure what we're going to get from Giannis and the Heat. The Knicks obviously are still there with a very solid team, but the East is far more wide open. There are far more contenders in the East compared to the West, which is just too big of a hill to climb.
Yeah, and now it's interesting because the fallout from this is, all right, if the Warriors were really thinking he was coming back, I guess they got to bring back Draymond now. Still some issues with that team there as far as youth goes. And then as far as, listen, the Cavaliers, you just gave all of that money to Donovan Mitchell again. You're still stuck with Harden. Okay, great. You're still going to do what you were going to do anyway. Miami was still going to need to go out and find some other cheap pieces to be able to plug and play in there anyway. So, the Sixers, it's a great luxury to have, but I don't think it changes my mind on the direction of the Miami Heat or the Cleveland Cavs. I don't think LeBron going there would have made them the favorite in the East. I still think the Knicks are the team to beat, Tom, no?
I would agree. Those would be fun moves from a fan, a viewership perspective, which has been the talk, at least as of late, where the NBA was held up on their schedule until LeBron announced, because him having a connection with the Heat, having a connection with the Cavs, was something that fans want to see. It's something fun, and that would be good. But to your point, that's not a championship-altering move. It's good to have LeBron on your team, but that does not put them over the top or even alongside like a 1B alongside the Knicks. They're still a step behind, even if either of those teams were to get him.
Still got OKC, still got San Antonio. The Knicks are the third favorite. And I get you're no longer double-digit favorites, though, among the Eastern Conference favorites there to win it all. I guess they're, plus 900, plus 950. Okay, again, I'll believe it when I see it here, because Philadelphia has been known for a lot of talent on that team. But the one thing we know is come the postseason, good luck with that. So kudos to the NBA for dragging out as long as they possibly could this announcement. I guess the next headline with the NBA, Tom, is going to be, let me guess who's playing on Christmas. Do you have any idea, any thoughts on who that's going to be now?
Knicks 76ers sounds like a pretty easy answer. You get the defending champion against LeBron going to his new team. Frankly, I would say Knicks Heat opening night, right? Knicks Heat opening night would be an easy answer. Giannis going to a new team, star, big market there with the Knicks raising the championship banner. And then I would say Knicks 76ers or 76ers Cavs on Christmas Day as well. So any combination of those teams, I think, is going to be, the boxes are going to be checked.
I agree. Yes, I absolutely think that. OKC versus the Spurs will be on. I can tell you right now what's going to happen. And by the way, most people don't consider the NBA season to start until Christmas anyway. Right. So, and I think this is a big reason why. Most people won't even realize it's probably going to be on Netflix anyway. But we also got a little bit of news, which is interesting too, in the NFL. And how about Andy Reid coming out a little while ago saying, you know what? Patrick Mahomes cleared for practice, cleared for contact now. So all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes, after blowing out his knee, now all of a sudden, could he be ready for week one? Are you a believer, Tom?
I want to say I'll believe it when I see it, but we're kind of seeing it already, right? And this is just, I think this is the new trend of things. It's the ACL is not going to be a full year recovery anymore. It's like a 10-month, 9-month process. Just credit to doctors and science and technology evolving and growing with humans, but this is coming down to like a 9-month recovery process, which he is in line for. I'm going to say we need to see him. I think he needs to play in the preseason. I don't think his first game action cannot be week one. He needs to have some real momentum going into week one, even if it's just for one drive in the preseason. If I see that, then I'll be convinced.
I had surgery, ACL and LCL. He blew his knee out in December, had surgery in December, and now here we are getting ready for August. Camp's opening up. And Andy Reid's like, yeah, he's good. No, he's been cleared. Participate fully. No problem. Here we go. Unbelievable here. So, but still don't know what kind of guy he's going to be after those surgeries. So lots still to be determined, but the market's going crazy anyway. All right, we got much more to dive into as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're much further down the list at only 8% right now on Call Sheet, but this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle, and that's going to be something that we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron.
Listen,
I couldn't help
I
it.
knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, welcome back in on this Friday. It's Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio, as we've got plenty of Major League Baseball set up here. 15 games on the docket here today. One game underway already, and that involves the Rockies and Milwaukee. Sugano opening it up for Colorado, and there were a lot of people running to the window to fade him here today, but Colorado jumps out in front 3-1. Drohan, actually, great young arm. I like it a lot. Milwaukee has just been smoking everybody, and they're going to have a little work to do here now, though, Tom. 3-1 here. The good news is you can actually get them at plus money now instead of, I think they closed around a 260, 265 favorite. You can get them for plus money in game if you want to do that right now, down 3-1 in the top of the fourth.
Yeah, top four, you get them at plus 138, plus 140, give or take. It's honestly not a bad spot. And, listen, when we see the Rockies play, and historically when it was the White Sox, those numbers, to your point, get driven up, and we're looking at $2.50, $3 favorites, which for a sport like baseball is just too much. It's just too much to bet into. And listen, I can understand it when you're dealing with a top flight pitcher, but this year is different. The Brewers are amazing. There's no doubt about that, but the Rockies are actually competent. They're not the Rockies of old where they're just some throwaway team that will be pushed over and give up 8, 9, 10 runs a game. They're actually a competent team this year, especially on the road. So I can understand being on the other side of the Rockies pregame, but betting the Brewers in-game seems pretty good, as now they've jumped up a little bit to plus 168 as the Rockies pour in a fourth run. So 4-1 in the top of the fourth.
Yep, we got that was just crushed. I'm going to be interested to see here. I think there's some good opportunities, though. Hit that sky high. It is a sack fly. But I like the Brewers here. And as a matter of fact, the more I'm looking at it, 1.5, 2 is starting to be a pretty good price. 10.5 is the in-game total there. So I don't hate that either. But 4-1, see how long drawing goes before they have to get into that bullpen. Now, National League Central's got another very interesting two teams going to battle here this weekend, Tom, with the Pirates and the Cubs getting ready here at 6:40. That'll be the next game on the board. You got Matthew Boyd taking on Jared Jones. And Jared Jones, by the way, he's been phenomenal. I don't know what all of a sudden was in the water for him, but, he's been on some sort of heater here. 6 shutout no-hit innings, I believe, against the Braves. He had 8 Ks back on July 8th. And then he comes out of the break. He goes up against the Guardians. 1-run ball, 9 strikeouts there. He's been really, really good. But you know what? Matthew Boyd's been pretty good for the Cubs, too. The question is, which one of these lineups do you trust more, the Cubs or the Pirates right now?
You know, frankly, I don't know how many times I've said this, but I think it's the Cubs just because they're riding hot right now. And the Cubs are just an immensely streaky team. They're a roller coaster. If they're at the peak, you can look to back them. So over the last few days, they lost 5-1 to Detroit. They won 11-2. They lost 8-6. They beat the Twins 10-1, and they beat the Twins 6-2. So they're scoring runs right now. Like, they are in the good part of the streak where they're actually scoring on offense. So I actually like a first 5 under in this game because the pitchers have been pretty darn good. Jared Jones coming back from injury, he really needs to emerge as I continuously say about him, he needs to be the Robin alongside Pat Skeens being Batman. They need a true number 2 behind Skeens if the Pirates truly want to compete. This is the prospect that he was supposed to be after all the injuries. I like what we're seeing from Jared Jones. Boyd's been serviceable. I'm not going to say he's been great, but he's been good at least recently. And the Pirates are still not an offense that I trust. So unders to start, but I think the game's a toss-up overall.
Good point. And by the way, I mean, both teams were off yesterday. Both bullpens are rested. Cubs have been much better against lefties as of late than righties here. And the Pirates, I mean, kudos to them. Actually, I mean, over the last month, Tom, they've been really good against lefties. And they got a lot of left-handed bats that are hurt right now. So some of the guys that have stepped in to replace them, they've been hitting them pretty well here. But I'm with you here. I think fewer runs. Although, we talked yesterday on the show. I am not sold on the Pirates making this big push down the stretch. I think it would be great to have Paul Skeens pitch in the postseason. Do you give him a puncher's chance with all this mediocrity baseball being played?
I think so. There was actually a report earlier today that this is the plan for the Pirates deadline. This is just per Colin Baisley, one of the Pirates reporters. Ideal candidates to acquire. The ideal candidate is a right-handed relief pitcher. They also want to pursue another starting pitcher or right-handed bat, and they're willing to deal from their major league position player depth, and they haven't had conversations about trading O'Neal Cruz and aren't motivated to do so. So at least they're forming a plan, which is a spot that the Pirates really haven't been in. They need pitching help, and if they can get healthy with some of their hitters, then I think they'll be good enough at the plate. Not amazing, but I would address the pitching help first. So I think they'll make a push. I don't know if it'll actually come to fruition, if they can get a deal that they like, but I think they'll at least try.
I think it would be great. I think it would be a step in the right direction to try and keep Skeens, too, as well, although they never win any of his starts anyway. It would be great, I think, if they could say, hey, you know what? One of the 3 wild card teams making it into the postseason, and they lost a lot of guys here on Pittsburgh to injuries this year. The bullpen has been trash. And O'Neal Cruz, I don't know what to make of him. I think the guy's got all talent in the world, but it sounds like maybe the Pirates front office thinks, hey, if we can get a couple of back-end bullpen arms and make a run at this thing, it's either home run or strikeout for him anyway, no?
It seems that way, and just given the dynamic of where the standings are right now for the NL wild card, why not is the real question. Like, why not do it right now before some uncertainty happens with the CBA?
I agree. I mean, and long-term prospects of them keeping Skeens here, Tom, what do you think? Is he going to be a Pirate for...
We need a prediction market on this. Like, at what date is Paul Skeens no longer a Pirate, right? Like, it's so going to be January 1st, 2027, 2028, whatever it's going to be.
It's whenever they create the whenever we can get that Yankees jersey with with Paul Skeens' number on it, I think we're going to be good to go there. All right, we got a lot more Major League Baseball coming up here. Yankees and Phillies should be a fun one here tonight. We'll break it all down for you as Game Time Decisions continues on the Grid.
come in a lot more better prepared to play than say we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list at only, 8% right now on Call Sheet. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron.
Listen,
I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio here as we got getting ready for a pretty good slate of Major League Baseball games coming up here tonight. Currently still 4-1 heading to the top of the fifth inning. Rockies on top of the Brewers there. And, boy, I tell you, Brewers were a big favorite before first pitch there. Not so much right now, and we've got stories galore here today. Headlines: LeBron James heading to the Sixers. He's made his decision. Patrick Mahomes apparently all good to go after blowing his knee out in December and having surgery. He has been cleared for camp that is beginning now, which is still hard for me to believe, Tom, that August is here, and that means we've got a Hall of Fame game going. We've got preseason football. And we always joke every year in the NFL, right? It's like, all right, the best thing for teams in the NFL is in the offseason, do not create a headline. We're always looking for the police blotter and who gets arrested. And inevitably, every year in the offseason, key guys on teams always get that mugshot. But what I don't think we are used to seeing, though, is NFL analysts actually making the police blotter. But that's exactly what Tony Romo did as the lead NFL CBS analyst, former Cowboys quarterback. That is a heck of a mugshot. Was pulled over in Milwaukee County. Ironic enough that Brewers are playing right now. Apparently driving, OWI, which is pretty much what I guess the DUI is in most other places. It's operating while intoxicated. And judging from that picture there, he gonna be kind of hard to get in front of a judge there and be like, I was fine. There was nothing wrong. Now, he was playing a golf tournament. He's from Wisconsin, but he was playing, I guess, in a golf tournament over the weekend. I don't know if what do you celebrate? He finished like 73rd or something along those lines. So I'm not sure what he was celebrating, but that looks like a man who was celebrating something there, Tom. And you got to wonder, what is CBS doing now? CBS and Nance going like, oh, really? We got to go into preseason with Romo's mugshot everywhere? What do you do now?
wait, or most PR like policies are like you just wait 24 hours before you actually put out a statement, you gather information. And the one thing I think that they'll lean on is, at least what I saw based on the Adam Schefter tweet, is that he was arrested under the suspicion of operating a vehicle, which obviously they'll lean into the suspicion is not confirmed, or it's not this, it's not official, this, that, and the other thing. That's what I think they'll lean into. It's like, oh, it's a suspicion that he did it.
Oh.
They allege that he did it. It's not actually doing it, which I assume there's some type of legal definition difference between actually being arrested and then a suspicion of operating. So is it suspicion that he was operating it, or suspicion that he was drunk? Because he's either operating the vehicle or not. There's no suspicion that he's operating the vehicle. So the legal definition as I think what they'll play into.
Yeah, well, and kudos. It carries, I believe, a first offense carries a penalty of $150 to $300. There's obviously fees on top of that. So something tells me that, the right attorney at the right price. This is going to cost him a few bucks, but we'll likely not hear about it from here on out, except he'll do some sort of mea culpa. He'll have some sort of meeting he's got to go to, and all will be well by the time the season starts here. But 73rd in a amateur golf tournament is not something to celebrate, Romo. I have no idea what you were doing there, outside of the fact that maybe, I don't know, does he think his former team, the Dallas Cowboys, could make a step in the right direction? I don't. I just placed a wager here, by the way, Tom. Week 1, Cowboys, Giants. What do you think we're going to get, Cowboys and Giants? I believe that's in Dallas as well.
In Dallas, if it's over a touchdown or close to it, I would be very interested in the Giants. And it could be one of those situations where we get a great number, and if you get over 7.5, I think that's just way too much to lay with the Cowboys, where every year it's like, oh, if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it's like, oh, it is. That's what we've seen from the Cowboys every single season. I'm never going to lay big numbers at home with them when, what was it, week 2 or 3 of last season, and going to overtime, Russell Wilson with the helmet, whatever that was. It's like, I'm not going to be laying any amount with the Cowboys at any point. Maybe I'll take points with them if they're viewed as an underdog, knowing that they can still put up points, but I'm never going to lay a touchdown.
It's actually, I'm sorry, it's at MetLife, and you ready for this?
Oh.
-2. -2. Ooh, we got something to discuss. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list than only, 8% right now on call sheet. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron.
Listen,
I couldn't help
I
it.
knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network as we're getting ready. Plenty of Major League Baseball getting ready to start in just about an hour. A lot of great series coming up here this weekend. We'll cover all of those games for you, but Tom and I were just laughing because the NFL is here, folks. Patrick Mahomes has been cleared to be a full participant as training camps are getting set to open up. We know the Raiders just went ahead and locked down, it looks like, their number one pick, right? Mendoza, he is now locked in. Still don't know if he's going to be the starting quarterback there, Tom, but Kirk Cousins might still, at least all indications are, Kirk Cousins could very well be under center by the time we get to week one. And some of these week one games and matchups, I got to give it to the NFL. I mean, the schedule is phenomenal. We talked about Giants at home against Dallas in week one. Dallas is a 2 or 3 point favorite there with a total of 48. That's going to be your first Sunday night football game. And then you have the complete opposite side of that with Tennessee taking on the Jets in Tennessee. It's the Robert Saleh, right? Revenge game. That total is 38, and I'm laughing and going, how are we getting to 38 points with the Jets in Tennessee? Two defensive-minded head coaches with no real offense to speak of. It feels like first 1 to 10 wins, Tom. What do you think of some of these?
It certainly feels that way, and frankly, with the Titans, I kind of like them against, Saleh, head coach, going up against his former team. I think the script kind of writes itself for them to be on track, at least from week one. And I will say, as I've been joking kind of throughout the offseason, I think the Jets have a pick in week one. They went the entire season last year without a pick, and they'll have a pick in week one. That's kind of one of the funnier things that I'm going to be looking to, just because, I do have some hope in Cam Ward, but he's still just a second-year quarterback. I will say, looking at some of these lines, the one that I think is going to stand out to a lot of people would be the 49ers versus the Rams, Shanahan versus McVay. It's 3.5 points. It's a division game, but this game is happening in Australia. It is happening on Friday night. The season opened up on Thursday with the Seahawks raising the banner against the Pats in a rematch of the Super Bowl. And then we get a game on Friday night in Australia, and everyone's going to be looking at Shanahan plus 3.5. I will say, I'm not saying that's a bad bet by any means. It's just we have to take into account all the other circumstances where this game is in a completely different country, very far away with a dramatic time difference.
Yes, that's going to be the Friday game, which is going to be crazy there. I think we have a Wednesday night game too, right? It's New England at Seattle on September 9th, and that's going to be the kicker right there. And that is 4.5 there with Seattle being the favorite in Seattle. And then you follow that up, like you said, with the game in Australia in Melbourne with the Rams and the 49ers. But I still have questions with a couple of quarterbacks here. A, are the Raiders starting Mendoza, do you think? And B, who is playing quarterback from Minnesota where they are a favorite at home against Green Bay in week one?
That's a great question. For the latter with the Vikings, we see a lot of reports saying that the QB competition between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy is going to come right down to the wire or right leading up to week one or whatever these quotes that I've seen over the past week. I think they're going to start Murray. That's just what I think as of now. I'm not sure if that's the right decision. For the Raiders, I think they should be starting Mendoza. That's what I think they should be doing. New head coach. He's the number one overall pick. You want to bring the fan base some positive momentum heading into the season. Like, this is the future. And I think Kirk Cousins is going to be a great teacher for Mendoza. But going into the season, knowing that you have your franchise quarterback starting, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be smooth. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be bumps along the way. But this is what you need. You need him to learn by fire. Going through a week-to-week basis, knowing that he's not preparing to be the starter, I think is something that he needs to do. And this is something that we see players that are recently retired constantly say, is like, oh, you have to learn how to be a pro. And the week-to-week preparation of doing that is important. Not running the scout team, taking all the snaps with the ones, I think is important, and that's what Mendoza needs to learn. So new quarterback, new head coach. The future is Bowers, Mendoza, and Genti. Let's get that ball rolling immediately.
I think it's a lot of that is going to depend on whether or not they think they can protect him. If they feel like they can protect him, then if not, it might be Kirk Cousins taking a few of those, at least early in the season anyway. And they open it up against Miami in Vegas, and they're a 3.5-point favorite, and Miami's got the better quarterback, crazy enough as it is. But, you'd have to open the season already being expected to win by more than a field goal. If you can't protect him or Cousins, could the Raiders be getting another top draft pick the following season? Because it certainly feels like it.
They certainly could. And I think with Colton Miller coming back on the left side, they signed Tyler Linderbaum at center. So their offensive line is going to be better than last year. I'm not worried about them protecting Mendoza because he can move a little bit. Kirk Cousins can't protect himself because he's got steel boots on back there. He can't even move to begin with.
It's crazy.
So so him being a statue is its own issue. But Colton Miller coming back on the left side, I think is going to be a dramatic improvement. And if they can get Genty going, that I think will alleviate a lot of it when it comes to Mendoza being at least effective and efficient to some capacity.
The one other game that fascinates me in week one is Buffalo in Houston at a pick'em, basically here, Tom. And listen, we know what the shortcomings offensively are of Houston, right? We already know what that's going to be. Can Stroud take that next step? Okay, we know Josh Allen is going to be there, right? But all of a sudden, no more McDermott. Is Joe Kelly the answer there to open it? 44 is the total. We know the Houston defense. Houston never starts, and they have not in the Stroud era, come out of the gate firing in September here. It's, usually they get better as the season goes on, but a pick'em with Buffalo and Houston, so what? Neutral site, Buffalo's a 3.5 point favorite?
That's what it certainly would seem like. And frankly, being on the road for your first game as a head coach against a great defense. And listen, Ryans as a head coach for Houston, a lot of people have their issues with the offense and the offensive line being terrible, not protecting Stroud and Stroud not doing enough himself. But the defense shows up. Like, that's the one thing I know, that the Houston defense will be good. The offensive line, that's a completely different story. But Houston at home seems like a decent side to back, at least in some capacity. I'm not, running to the window to bet it now, especially because the 1.5 is juiced at -122. But a good defense or a great defense at home is something that you always look to back in some capacity.
Especially early, too. But Stroud worries me. That Buffalo defense, they did invest and got rid of some pieces, but time will tell. I'm a little worried about Buffalo this year. And by the way, the biggest total in week one, Tampa and Cincinnati at 52.5 right now.
Oh, yeah.
At Cincinnati. With Todd Bowles, you're going to drop all those points on the Todd Bowles defense? And Baker Mayfield, if he's not going to be under contract, this is going to be lingering all camp long, Tom. No? I'm worried about Tampa, to tell you the truth. In a winnable division, I don't know what what choice do they have besides Baker Mayfield?
Because if you're not paying Baker, who could you get in the offseason? And if you're not going to get someone in the offseason, that means you're looking forward to the draft, but they're really not in a spot that they need to be looking forward to the draft because they have enough pieces to do so. I will say the Bengals historically start slow. Laying 3.5 with the Bengals seems a bit much for me right now. And listen, I always have hope in Burrow and the offense. They always can put up points. I think the defense will at least be serviceable this year, which is what I've said about the Bengals for a few years. You don't need to give Joe Burrow a top 5 defense. If you give them a league average defense, they could probably make the playoffs with the offense that they have. And the offensive line is going to be better this year. They can protect Burrow, but just give me a league average defense for the Bengals. They'll make it, but still the 3.5 at home, even with an uncertain Bucs team Miller side, is a bit much for the Bengals.
And you know what? I'm with you because I think game one will tell you everything about what the Bengals season's going to be. If they win that game, it'll be the first game they win in September in how long, Tom? Crazy. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Hey, come in a lot more better prepared to play than say we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list than only, 8% right now on Call Sheet. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron.
Listen,
I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. It feels good to be talking some football again there, Tom. It really does, because camps are opening up. And, yeah, we got a Hall of Fame game coming up before we know it. And that, of course, will kick off the season. That is going to be August 6th, Thursday night, August 6th, just around the corner. Football is back here, but we got plenty of Major League Baseball here tonight to get you ready for. Somebody should have told the Milwaukee Brewers they had a game today, because they're losing 4-1 in the bottom of the sixth right now to the lowly Colorado Rockies. But we talked Pittsburgh and Chicago. That is coming up. And then you got two of the best offenses here over the last month going at it in Washington, with Arizona, who won again yesterday, dropped another 10 runs. The bats are going for Arizona. We know Washington is very, especially against left-handed pitching, and that's what's on the mound for Arizona here with Rodriguez on the mound. Palmquist is the opener. I believe Zach Lytle is going to be the bulk reliever coming in. 9.5 here. I mean, it's somebody has got to score runs off of Rodriguez, right? Like something has got to get exposed here, Tom.
They certainly do. I am on the Nats money line tonight. There's going to be runs in this game. It could very easily end 6-4, 6-5, 7-5 on either side. I'm very well aware of the range of outcomes the Nats offense and their lack of pitching staff can bring. As you said, the Diamondbacks are scoring plenty of runs, but we've talked about Erod before, and he is due for massive regression just based on basically anything that you look at. So a 2.62 ERA at face value looks great, but his xERA is at 5.12. 2.62 actual ERA, his xERA is at 5.12. His left on base percentage is up at 84.7. Last year, he posted a 71.1%, and his career rate is 74.3. He's not giving up home runs. He doesn't strike anyone out. But if you are constantly getting out of jams by smoke and mirrors, and you're constantly overperforming your xERA, regression's going to come, and the Nats actually have the type of offense to get that ball rolling against Erod. So I'm on their money line tonight.
Yeah, last time out was on the 19th. The Cardinals roughed him up for 5 earned runs in that one there. He only went 2 2/3. Wasn't part of a decision in that one because, well, the Cardinals are terrible. But it's runs have to be coming here. And you and I talked about Arizona. I would not sleep on this team. This is a team that now is starting to put it together hitting. I do think that come the trade deadline, it wouldn't shock me if they do a little something with the bullpen, try to expand a little bit there. Zach Gallen is on the IL, but who are we kidding? Zach Gallen was a gas can all year long. It doesn't matter there. But I think getting Brandon Pfaadt back to what you saw yesterday, I think there's an opportunity for Arizona, more so than Pittsburgh that we talked about. I think I trust Arizona more to make a shot at the postseason and make some noise than I do Pittsburgh or anybody else.
I would agree. And like you said, Gallen going to the IL is addition by subtraction, which is good for the Diamondbacks, essentially. And frankly, a pitcher on the other side, I don't know if they'll see him this weekend, but Foster Griffin, they'll actually see him tomorrow. Kind of the pitcher that the Diamondbacks could probably use. They need a little bit of pitching help. And I think that's one of the things holding them back is I think the Diamondbacks, as I've said before, they have it in them, as we've seen before and just a few years ago, to make the postseason. But they still need some type of frontline postseason starter, which they don't have. And Erod has plenty of experience throughout his career. He certainly has that. So does Merrill Kelly. He's got some postseason experience. But if they're both not performing, you need another piece to the puzzle. And Foster Griffin actually does make a bit of sense for them.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And in fact, we've got also coming up in Philadelphia and another solo home run, I believe, Terang by the Brewers. Yelich had a solo in the first. Now Terang a solo home run, and now it is 4-2 in the bottom of the sixth there against the Rockies. What about what we got going on in Philly tonight? Will Warren was supposed to start. Schlittler is starting instead, going up against Luzardo. I believe Philadelphia has won his last 10 starts. They have won the game, and he has been underrated, I think, Tom. Wheeler, I get it. No, a lot of other conversations surrounding the Phillies. Luzardo is about as steady as it gets. Do we trust either lineup against these front-end starters?
That's a really tough question. And, Luzardo early in the year was terrible. And, I remember tweeting about him at some point that his underlying metrics were just way, way too good for the results that he was giving up because he was terrible to start the year. And he finally turned the corner. Water finds its level. He regressed to where he should be, and he's been downright great. I think the easy answer is to look at first five under. I don't have any action on this game at all. But if someone's looking, okay, Schlittler, AL Cy Young potential, Luzardo, who's been great in his own right behind Wheeler and Chris Sanchez, as you said, but an under to start wouldn't surprise me. I see this game as a bit of a coin flip. I would not play the money line on either side. That's just me.
Yeah, they're 4 this morning, and now, of course, 3.5 across the board. It feels like 1-0 heading into the sixth, right? 1-1, something along those lines there, Tom. I don't see either guy giving up a lot, and it's not as if Philadelphia has been crushing that side anyway anytime soon. In fact, Philadelphia over the last 2 weeks hitting .204 against right-handed pitching here, 27th in Major League Baseball. Yankees middle of the road, 14th against lefties, but what can we, Yankees going to score 1 million runs off of a top end, starter from the left-hand side? I don't think that's possible. Full game under as well, 7.5, or do we give the edge to the Yankees bullpen and maybe the Yankees we should be looking at?
Yeah, I would give the edge to the Yankees bullpen slightly. It's not by much. The under 7.5 is interesting. And frankly, I'm going to, the more I think about this, on the spot, I may play this series this weekend like a zigzag. Just if you're on one side, one, then, if we have a day game tomorrow with hotter temperatures, maybe there's some wind tomorrow and go from there. But I think that could be a way to play this series. And also the Arizona-Washington series. Like I said, I'm on Washington tonight, but Arizona's just as good to be on the side tomorrow, especially if you get him at plus money because Griffin's going to be starting tomorrow for the Nats.
Yeah, I love that. I love both of these series coming up. Also, the Mets have a game to lose tonight. We'll tell you how they're going to do it as Game Time Decisions continues All right, welcome back in. Here we go. Game time decisions on the Sports Grid Network as we round out this first hour together. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. We've got some Major League Baseball we're getting you ready for here tonight. Full slate, 15 games, one underway, and it's getting good with the Brewers right now. First and second, one out, bottom of the sixth. Brewers down 4-2. And it looks like the bullpen will now get involved for the Rockies, which is always fun. Our suggestion a couple innings ago was hop on plus money with Milwaukee here, knowing exactly what we might see as this game goes on. So big opportunity here for the Brewers to get right back into this down 4-2. But we got a lot of good games coming up here tonight. I mentioned the Mets, Tom, before the last break here. And listen, if they're going to win a game in this series, I guess this is the one, right? Suzuki going for the Dodgers, although he looked pretty good against the Yankees last time out. Prior to that, though, it's been atrocious. Manaea is on the mound for the Mets. And listen, Dodgers haven't exactly been crushing left-handed pitching recently either. So, in fact, number 26th in Major League Baseball over the last couple of weeks against lefties. What are we thinking here? If they're going to win a game, is it this one here? The Mets have a puncher's chance because the market has been betting them all day long.
I think it has to be this game, just given the fact that Yamamoto's pitching for the Dodgers tomorrow, and then on Sunday, Freddie Peralta's pitching for the Mets. So I don't know if they're going to be winning that start, and I'm not sure. Now, listen, Noah McLean is pitching tomorrow versus Yamamoto, so it'll be a very exciting game, but it's still Yamamoto. Ultimately, in this game, I'm not going to bet either side. I have bet a player prop in this one, Tommy Edman for 2+ hit run RBI combo. That's up at -127 if you're using certain boosts and promos out there. I'm not a big believer in BVP, batter versus pitcher. I'm not a huge believer, but he has gotten the best of Sean Manaea, 4 or 5 in his career. He's got great underlying metrics. It's a very small sample size from Tommy Edman because he didn't start the season on time, but I like him just to get 2+, -140, -127, given the different boosts out there.
Dodgers opened up overnight a $1.50 favorite. Now 121 is what we're looking at. So it's been steady Met money all day long here. Mets bullpen, I think, a little bit better shape for this one here, because I don't think Weaver's pitched in forever. You know, Devin Williams certainly hasn't pitched in forever. So the back end leverage arm's a little bit better here for the Mets, and the Dodgers have not hit lefties, and Manaea certainly is capable of limiting the damage. So that game also should be interesting. Skubal on the mound for Detroit, but are we laying 250, 260 with Skubal? I'm certainly not going to run to the window, Tom, with that, even against the Royals.
The way to approach this game is, I guess, what we're getting a good example of firsthand with the Brewers is you don't want to lay that price, but if you can get them in game closer to even money, that's the way to do it. There's no doubt in my mind that the Tigers are the better team. I'm not sure by how much. Skubal's by far the better pitcher, but it doesn't mean that they are worthy of a minus 275, minus 280 type of price. So hopefully this game starts off slow. Maybe Skubal gives up one earned run, and that's all you need to get a better price come the 5th or 6th inning from the Tigers. And all of a sudden they're closer to even money. That's how I would play it. He could very easily fly over his strikeout prop, but I'm not looking to back them minus 275.
What do you think about laying the 1.5 in the first 5 at plus money with Detroit?
A run and a half. That is at plus money. I don't hate it. I would want to know what the price is. You're like barely plus money, like plus 110, or are we getting like a plus 150
plus
price?
105. I think plus 105.
Okay, I could talk my way into that because it's going to be, what's his name on the mound today for the Royals? It's Brent Betway, and then Noah Cameron's coming in after him. I have no issue with the Royals. Have a horrible bullpen.
Yes. Well, and Noah Cameron coming in after a start of lefty against, and the Tigers have really turned a corner offensively too. I don't mind 2-0 by the time they get to the 6th inning seems realistic to me. I don't know that Kansas City is scoring at all off of Skubal. Let's be honest here, right? I mean, against left-handed pitching, listen, they can't hit right-handed pitching, much less left-handed pitching here. What do you give up? No runs against the Angels in 5, 2 against Philadelphia, his previous outing there, 1 run against the Athletics. Well, I mean, you go down the list. Skubal is not likely giving up a lot of runs here in the first 5 innings. And to your point, how long are we really going to see him? I mean, 87 pitches against the Angels, 93 against Philly, 96 against the Athletics. I don't know that they're going to stretch him out more than 5 innings anyway, Tom. I think that's the only spot we have is in the first 5 with Skubal. All right, a lot more games to talk about as another hour of Game Time decisions straight ahead on the grid. right, welcome in and a very happy Friday to you. It is Game Time Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we're going to get you ready here for a big slate of Major League Baseball games here tonight. The WNBA has an all-star game tomorrow, I believe, so they've got a little reprieve before they pick it back up next week. And eventually, heck, the playoffs will be here before you know it on that one. We got a little golf here at the 3M. I believe another 59 was shot today, as some of these tournaments and these golf courses are getting much easier than they should be. But is Scottie Scheffler finally going to break through and win another tournament? And when it comes down to it, the main story today, likely if your phone went off, you look down and the announcement for one LeBron James appeared on your screen, Tom, and it looks like the Philadelphia 76ers, are they the big winner? I don't know how to categorize this outside of congrats. You got a guy that's likely going to play 35, 40 games in the regular season, and you hope that he'll have enough in the tank at 42 years old to, I don't know, hang out with Embiid and maybe make a run in the postseason. But boy, do I have my doubts with this. But hey, LeBron's farewell tour is going to begin in Philadelphia, I guess.
It certainly will. I'm trying to think of, the different range of outcomes for just the wide range of outcomes that the 76ers are going to have. They're going to be booked as favorites a lot. I think that presents a lot of opportunities to fade them if you're just not buying into the cohesion being there, from game one, hitting the ground running. And a lot needs to go right in order for them to be a favorite or a co-favorite coming into, mid-April once the playoffs start. Like, they need to be healthy. They need to be in a good spot in terms of seeding. They need to be in the top four. They can't be playing the Knicks, or even the Heat is not, or the Celtics wouldn't be an easy out in round one. So they need to be in the top four. They need to have home court. They need to be healthy. A lot needs to go right. If you tell me that they end in the top four of the East, but they still have a losing ATS record, I'm not going to be surprised. I think there's a number of ways to fade them this year, and it's really just a matter of getting good numbers at good times.
And, something nobody else has mentioned here, but it's worth talking about, is that he goes to Philadelphia, and how much faith do we have in Nick Nurse to manage what we've got going on here? Because you're going to have a whole lot of scorers here, right? Guys that you're going to have to try to keep happy. You're going to have to manage Embiid. You're going to have to manage a 41, 42-year-old LeBron James who's likely never playing on a back-to-back. You're going to have some young guys that he's got to feed. I mean, do we trust Nick Nurse, who just happened to be at the right place at the right time when Kawhi Leonard didn't own a tree company in Toronto? I mean, you tell me, Tom, how much faith do we have as this is the guy that's going to put it all together?
I think the plan needs to come from the top down. And if the back-to-backs are managed properly, I wouldn't be surprised if they do opposite back-to-backs where LeBron plays and Embiid sits, and then Embiid plays and LeBron sits, so they at least have some competent team out there on a night-to-night basis. So again, I think the plan needs to be like super structured and set in stone essentially as the season starts, because you can't be managing this on a week-to-week basis saying, oh, well, we tried this, now we're going to try this, and we're going to try this over here because that thing didn't work. And now there's just too much media attention, there's too much scrutiny, and then you actually can't find a real basketball groove, which is what the team should be looking to do, because at least the players like Maxey and Brown and Edgecombe go into it knowing this is their role at certain times, and the role is going to be slightly different. But at least if they know that from the start, that's where the learning and growth can actually happen. And I'm not sure Nick Nurse is going to be everything in the Sixers fans want.
Yeah, I thought Cleveland and Miami would have been better for the farewell retirement tour for him, because he's got history with both those teams. I just want to know, where is the defense coming from here? Sure, this team is going to be able to score, right, Tom? But you're going to have to play some defense here. I don't see you playing the same level of defense like we just watched the Knicks do on their way to a championship. I mean, LeBron's not playing defense. Embiid, if he's not healthy enough, can't help you defensively. So what's left here with the defense on this team?
It's going to have to be a team effort, I think is the easiest way to put it, where it's going to have to truly, it's going to have to be a cohesive thing where it's going to take some time for them to grow. And listen, there's going to be a lot of games that I think they're going to be a good over team just because they have so much potential scoring in the defense. I think will take the longest time to catch up. But the offense that we can get from them on a night in and night out basis, I'm going to say you legitimately have 4 players down the line that can give you 30 plus a game. You have 4 players that can give you double doubles, which is something that not many other teams have. But finding that fluidness between each player, that's what's going to take the most time. That connectiveness is going to take a while, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna, because you got a lot of guys on this team that are going to require, they're better with the ball in their hand, Tom, right? They're not better off the ball. Maxey's a guy that can play off the ball, but what is LeBron's going to be a facilitator? And isn't it ironic and crazy, as much talent as the Sixers have, to me, they don't win if Embiid ain't healthy in the playoffs, Tom. Is that crazy to say? If Embiid is not there and he's not healthy to play, I don't care who else they have in the team. I don't think they're winning it. They certainly ain't beating the Knicks again, I'll tell you that.
So it's interesting the way that you phrase it. It's like Embiid may not be the most important during the regular season, but he's the most important during the postseason, where you can win games in the regular season with Maxey and Jaylen Brown and LeBron and Edgecombe emerging as another star. You could win games in the regular season, but if Embiid isn't healthy come April 10th, April 15th, whatever it is, then you would have no interest in backing the 76ers at that point.
No, and I am sure the accountants there in the sales department and Sixers there that have been calling season tickets, trying to get a piece of the farewell tour with LeBron. I'm sure the phones are ringing right now. I'm also fairly certain that the TV schedule now, which I believe the only thing holding it up was figuring out where LeBron is. You and I talked about it earlier. We kind of have an idea of what the Christmas games are going to look like here. And then pretty much every other prime time, there's an NBC game. Something tells me it's going to be the same 4 teams over and over and over, Tom. What do you think?
New York, Philly, Boston, Miami. We'll get a mix of the Raptors in there. We'll get Denver with Jokic. We'll get Minnesota with Ant Edwards. We'll get Houston with Durant. And I think that's where we're in that rotation of teams, one after another, I think is where we'll be. The interesting, thing comes is, where else do the schedule makers look to, I don't want to say force these teams in, but it's going to be opening night, Christmas Day, as we know, for the early ones, and it's going to be those big Amazon Prime and NBC games as we saw all of last year. Yep.
All the big names that switch. You're going to get Sixers with Jaylen Brown and now LeBron. And ironic enough here, Tom, is you and I, neither of us even mentioned the Lakers. Right. And they're going to have Doncic. They're going to have Reeves. Where do the Lakers fit into this? Are they must-watch TV now, Tom, in any way? I would rather watch Dallas with Kyrie coming back and Cooper Flagg and company than I would watch the Lakers. No, I don't even know why anybody would tune in to watch them now.
The reason you would watch the Lakers would be you are looking at Luka as an MVP candidate, just because it's going to be the Luka show every single night, dropping triple doubles. And, he's at plus 600 now, which obviously is a fantastic price considering Wemby, SGA, and Jokic are there. But you're going to have to look to Luka to be a superstar. And he has to drop 30, 12, and 10 a night for the Lakers to have a chance.
Wow, it's crazy. It really is crazy. And then you're going to have OKC, which might be the best team nobody really cares to watch. And San Antonio, let's forget it. I mean, San Antonio, too. Like, the Lakers are in the middle, like the middle tier, Tom, of interest from a television viewing standpoint, which is, we haven't had that in a while. You got the champion Knicks. Oh, boy. Lakers going to be real interesting to see what direction they go from here. All right, we got more Major League Baseball to get you caught up with as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid. All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio, and let's dive into some of these Major League Baseball games that we've got coming up for you here tonight as we run down the slate. Rockies, by the way, scored another run there to answer the Brewers, so 5-2 heading into the bottom of the seventh. Rockies were a pretty good priced underdog in this one. Sagano held his own, but the Brewers bats just not getting it done at this point here. The Braves taking on the Orioles. The Braves, boy, oh boy, at home, they can score some runs here. The big question is, will they do it on the road at Camden here against, I think, one of the more underrated pitchers in Rogers here, going up against Grant Holmes. I mean, look at Rogers' numbers. My goodness. You want to talk about a tale of two halves for him. Missing, what was it, 3 or 4 starts there on the IL? He was atrocious. He couldn't get anybody out. When he came back off the IL, he's been downright unhittable, and you're not scoring runs off him. So which version of the Braves do we get here tonight, you think?
Well, Trevor Rogers is one of my favorite plays for today. I'm actually on his under 9.5 hit, run, earned run combination. So under 9.5, hit, walks, earned run combo. Under 9.5 is at -142. And to your point, this has really been two completely different pitchers. It was a terrible start to the season for Trevor Rogers, and he missed some time. He came back, and the strikeouts are better. The walks are under control. He's not giving up as many home runs. He's not giving up as much hard contact. And then we look to the other side with the Braves, and on the road versus lefties, they are a middling to below average team. They are still not at full health. Acuna's still not in the lineup. And I'm going to be looking to back Trevor Rogers in a good spot at home at a good number of 9.5 hits, walks, earned run, and it's only -142. I really like him tonight.
I mean, I'm looking at just his last 6 starts here. 1 run against Houston, 1 run against the Cubs. Cincinnati didn't score. Washington 1 run. Dodgers no runs. Padres just 2 runs. I mean, he's guaranteed to give you 6 innings. It feels like here, and it's unbelievable. No walks, striking out a bunch. I think the Braves could be in trouble here. And by the way, the Orioles, what are they, 2 games out of that final wild card spot here? It's not like they don't have anything to play for.
Right. This is an important series for them. It's, granted, it's just as important for the Braves, who have kind of, I'm not going to say been in free fall, but they have taken a big step back. We got to remember, they started off the year on fire. They had a 9.5 game lead in the NL East, and that has dwindled down to, what is it now, 3 games, 2.5 games, whatever it is for the Braves at this point. So they need to find some footing when it comes to their playoff picture. But Trevor Rogers has been phenomenal, and I'm looking to back him tonight.
I'm with you. I like that. I like that look a lot here. I'll also listen. I'm a big believer, right? If it ain't broke, let's not fix it. The Rays at the Trop has not been a broken bet all year long. They lost yesterday to Toronto, but they won 3 of 4 in that series. They lost 3-1. Come home now. They welcome in the Guardians, who just had to play 12 innings and lost 2 out of 3 to the Twins. Ramirez's back is great, but in that 12-inning affair, Cade Smith blew the save. They had to bury the bullpen, and they still lost that game against Minnesota. And now they got to take on McClanahan, and Cantillo goes. He's not terrible, Cantillo, but this Rays offense is a different animal here.
And they're also just a machine at home, 35-15 at home this year. It's a house of horrors for other teams, but they consistently win. And frankly, I think this is a pretty good price on the Rays at -140 or so. Like I said, Cantillo's a serviceable pitcher for the Guardians. He has been pretty good, all things considered. And again, they have a pretty good pitching staff. Gavin Williams was phenomenal yesterday. We were live for a portion of that game. Tanner Bybee's been solid enough. Parker Messick's been legit good. They have a good pitching staff, but the offense is always the issue with the Guardians, and getting it done in a pitcher's park such as the Trop against McClanahan, not something I'm looking to back. I'll take the Rays tonight.
Yeah, and number 25, 25th best hitting team against left-handed pitching over the last couple of weeks is what the Guardians are, whether they have Ramirez back or not here. Runs are going to be hard to come by against McClanahan. So I'm with you. Sometimes the price and the value, I don't love that they're coming back from an 8-game road trip and this is their first game. That's usually not a good thing. But given the Guardians just had to play 12 innings yesterday and no Cade Smith and company, I think the price is worth it. I think we can say the same thing about Boston. At home here tonight, even with Sandoval on the mound against you, Savage, you're looking at getting Boston at a ridiculously good price. They were off yesterday. They had the 15-game, win streak stopped by the Orioles the night before in a doubleheader. But what is redeeming about the offense of Toronto? What am I supposed to believe Toronto is going to do even against Sandoval here?
So we talked about Sandoval or in a joking manner that he came back and he was looking like a Cy Young candidate. And I think the easiest way to put it for this matchup is very simple. Starting pitching, bullpen, lineup. Savage is good. Savage is better than Sandoval. I think we all agree with that. But the other two factors of the game, the lineup with the Red Sox that have been on fire, scorching hot, and the bullpen, much better with the Red Sox. So if I'm betting on the Red Sox money line, it's not a first five because I'm not betting on Sandoval. I'm betting on the Red Sox in its entirety, which is, okay, starting pitching, great lineup, great bullpen. The totality of the Red Sox is better than the Blue Jays in any capacity.
And listen, they're barely scoring 2 runs a game, Toronto, over the last week. They're 27th against left-handed pitching over the last couple of weeks. They can't hit water if they fell out of a boat right now, Tom. Scoring runs is just not in the cards. And Savage has got a bit of a walk problem, does he not, Tom?
He does. The strikeouts are certainly nice, which, he kind of flashed last year, as we saw in the postseason, a very magical postseason run. But with the way the Red Sox have been hitting, they're not a team I'm looking to fade when they're at home. If they go on the road, they struggle in the series, they go on the road, we can have a different conversation in a week or so. But right now they're at home, they're in their groove. You back the Red Sox. It's been literally a cash cow over the past 3 weeks.
Tyler Rogers, as well as Louis Varland, both have worked back-to-back days. I don't see them available in the back end either for Toronto, and that's a problem because the bullpen of Boston has been lights out during this stretch. We got other games coming up here as we start moving out west. We'll get them covered for you as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list at only, 8% right now on Kalshi. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Skubal. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron.
Listen,
I couldn't help
I
it.
knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Yep. All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. We're getting you ready for a lot of Major League Baseball here, just about 20 minutes away for the 6:40 p.m. Eastern times games, which will include, we got a lot coming up. In fact, Yankees at Philadelphia at Citizens Bank. That's going to be a good one. Arizona at Washington. Chicago at Pittsburgh, we talked about. Kansas City and Detroit. We got one game now in the top of the 8th, it looks like. 5-2 Colorado in front of the Brewers here. So they're looking to take the first game of this weekend series. And we've got a lot of other intriguing ones coming up, including, I think, you got the White Sox now in a battle with the Guardians, although the Twins aren't that far out in the Central. You got Houston in a battle in the American League West there. They just swept the Marlins. You got Arrighetti against Davis Martin, and I wanted to pull the trigger on the White Sox here, but my goodness, everyone seems to be healthy in this Astros lineup, and they are potent, man, right now. What did you think?
We were talking about in the break and kind of joking about this. I have had a tough time with Arrighetti this year. There are metrics and underlying metrics that point to him being good. There are things that point to him being terrible with the walks. And, you alluded to it with Arrighetti. It's like he has this one, he's cruising, all of a sudden he has this one inning, and then, boom goes a dynamite. He just blows up in your face. He has 4 walks and gives up 3 runs, apparently. And it's just not something that you can look to back. However, the White Sox have been awesome at home. And Martin is a good enough pitcher that you can be looking to back him. So this is another series, as we talked about before, just given the way that each teams are playing, this just might be a zigzag series. You're on one side one day, you're on one side the other day, and when it comes to Sunday and they split the series, you can reevaluate it from there. But I would play the Yankees, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Nats, and then Houston, Chicago White Sox as a zigzag series this weekend.
Yeah, by the way, Arrighetti, his better performances have been home and not on the road this year. So, and he's a fly ball pitcher that gives up far too much hard contact for my liking. So, White Sox coming up, I don't mind that play at all. And speaking of Miami, 9 in a row, Tom, they've lost, and they are home. And listen, they got German Marquez going for the Padres. Miami calls up Gusto, I think, so he'll start. But in Miami, the bats have just gone MIA, and that's ironic, but it's the reality. What are we getting here from the Marlins? Do they break the 9-game losing streak here?
If we knew that, Craig Mish would be very happy. But B, we would also be in a great spot because – I've been on the record as saying that the Padres are just not a team that I have interest in at any point this year. And the Marlins are coming off this horrible road trip, but they have been legitimately awesome at home this year. One of the best home records in the league. They're 31-20 overall. The pitching staff starting pitching with Gusto is not something that I love. But German Marquez is never a pitcher that I've liked or looked to back in any capacity. I think you could play the Marlins on the money line. I'm not confident in it, but we just don't see teams going on super long losing streaks like this. I think they right the ship tonight, but I can't back them. You can't back a trend like this, at least I don't think, on 9 games.
And recent form, listen, the Padres #1 in Major League Baseball against right-handed pitching over the last couple of weeks. Miami, remember how good they were a month ago? Remember the conversations we were having just before the All-Star break? And then they swept Seattle, and then the Guardians came in without Ramirez and beat them 3 straight, and they haven't won a game ever since. Miami 28th against right-handed pitching over the last couple of weeks. They're going to have to figure out how to get some offense going. But that's a heck of a turnaround. I mean, #1 against righties over the last couple of weeks. You start getting Machado, and you start getting, some of these guys in that lineup starting to swing it. Should we stick a fork in the Padres just yet here, Tom? What do you think?
I think so. I really do. I was low on the Padres coming into this year. Granted, as I've said before, I was high on the Giants, and that didn't turn out too well. But I was low on the Padres. I just don't like where I didn't like where they sat in terms of the dynamic of the NL overall. I think they're too far behind, and there's enough competent teams in front of them. Are the Nats going to stay fully intact? Probably not. Do we expect the Marlins to continue to struggle like this? No, ultimately not. But the Pirates, the Cardinals, and the Diamondbacks are all competent enough that they can just keep them at arm's bay. And the Padres would have to do too much to overcome all of these teams and make it into the postseason. I think they can be better to close the year, but I just don't think that they've done enough or will do enough to get over the hump.
Yeah, it's just that the offense just underperformed. I mean, they got Bogarts hitting, what, 8th now? I mean, he's finally getting Tatis and Machado to come around, but it might be too little too late. More game time decisions, though, coming up here on the grid.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list at only, 8% right now on call sheet. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron.
Listen,
I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Still. All right, welcome back in. Game time decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we look to get you ready here. A lot of Major League Baseball back at it today. 15 games in total. One underway here, bottom of the 8th, and Colorado looking to pull off the upset to start the slate. They are up 5-2 on the Milwaukee Brewers. As we head out west, we've got a few other games coming up a little bit later tonight. Even in Texas at Globe Life, I think this is a sneaky good matchup in a very winnable division now with the American League West. We talked about how, well, it's anybody's game. I mean, Houston is not dead yet in the West there, Tom. That shows you how bad that division is. But when Texas is at home, Mackenzie Gore on the mound, and then going up against Seattle. And I love Bryce Miller. I think he's one of the more underrated starting pitchers, one of the really good starting pitchers. I usually don't expect a lot of runs in Seattle games, number one. But when he's on a mound, I don't expect a lot of runs from whoever they're playing. They've hit better, Texas, as of late. But do we trust them to get to Bryce Miller here?
I don't. I would be looking at the under 7.5 in this game. And, to your point, Bryce Miller, he's been awesome. Now, granted, it's a 63.1 inning sample size, so it's not the same as some of these other pitchers that have been pitching full year. But a couple things about him. A 2.27 ERA is great. Obviously, ERA isn't the end-all and be-all. But if you look to his xERA, That's at 2.49. So he's right in line with that. Strikeout rate is at 29.5%. He walks no one. His walk rate is down at 4.1%, which is, I love to see. You're never allowing runners on base for free. Gives up a few hits here or there, but having that high strikeout rate, he can get himself out of trouble. So even if he does give a walk or a single here or there, he can get himself out of trouble with a 30% strikeout rate. And to your point, the Mariners aren't scoring at all, and that park at Globe Life has actually been more of an under park, more than I anticipated since they opened it. I thought it was going to be a decent hitter's park. We're talking about an under tonight, under 7.5 for Mariners Rangers.
Yeah, and the big difference, too, is going to be what happens when the starting pitchers go out of this game. Because you've got Seattle, at least over the last week, top 10 bullpen, and they've actually been very good all year long, but Texas's bullpen is a hot mess. They're carrying almost a 8 ERA over the last week. They can't get anybody out. They can't strike anybody out. So that means you're going to need Mackenzie Gore to give you a whole lot of innings here, because once that bullpen comes in, all bets are off as far as Texas goes. And Seattle's a pretty cheap price, all things considered. Now, Tom?
They are. Look, I still have my hopes about Seattle just because I think they are truly they can be a contender because of their pitching staff. Like, that pitching staff can go toe-to-toe with any other team in the league. It's about making it to the playoffs. This is a very, very important series for both teams this weekend. But Seattle, close to even money, backing Bryce Miller in some capacity, I think it is a good spot to look tonight. And listen, if it doesn't come through, it is what it is, but I think it's the right side to be on.
Well, I'll tell you one team who's likely not going to come back and win the West. The Athletics are taking on Minnesota here tonight, Tom. And the Athletics, listen, they've dealt with a lot of injuries. We all know once Kurtz went down, the whole dynamic of this team changed a couple of weeks prior to the All-Star break. But the bullpen that they're rolling out is laughably bad. Almost a 13 ERA in the last 7 days, Tom. The single worst in Major League Baseball. And Minnesota coming off of that 12-inning win yesterday at home, took 2 of 3 from the Guardians. Zebby Matthews going up against Lopez here. I want to bet an over. What are you thinking here in this one?
Part of me wants to say that the Twins, a team I've been low on the entire year, I think it's a decent price for them at minus 144. I really do, where I think they can win this game. I don't love it, but I think the runs should be front and center for both of these teams, because the Twins, they could probably do 75% of the heavy lifting in this game. And if the A's can get 3 across the board, I think we should be looking at an over, right? If the A's just do your part, give me 3 runs, I think the Twins will do the rest, and this game cruises over. We got some nice hitting weather there too today. It was the mid-80s with the winds blowing a little bit out towards left field or across the field from right to left. It's not bad when it's all said and done.
Yeah, no, it's actually not here. In fact, double-digit wins too across. But yeah, people forget Minnesota. That's still a pretty good hitter's ballpark there, Tom. And listen, Lopez doesn't scream shutdown in any way, shape, or form, which means that bullpen is going to get involved, which means runs are coming there. What about Cincinnati at St. Louis here? St. Louis, it has been atrocious. Number 30 in Major League Baseball over the last couple of weeks against right-handed pitch. They haven't hit anybody at all, and it's starting to show in the record. But they have been a pretty big favorite here, I thought, Tom, with, Dusty May. The only reason is because May is on the mound going up against Rhett Lauder. But as far as offense goes, I trust Cincinnati more than I trust the Cardinals here, no?
I would say the same. The Cincinnati offense is one, at least to me, is always capable of putting up a big performance. Ellie De La Cruz, Sal Stewart, J.J. Bleday, Suarez is in there. Spencer Steer's drawing a lot of trade interest. I think the offense can certainly come from the Reds. The issue that I would have backing this is that I'm not sure how much the Cardinals can do as of late. And if I can't get equal contributions from both teams, we're never going to be pushing to the over. The Cardinals could win this game 5-2, and we still fall under. So if I'm not confident the Cardinals can do their part, even though Rhett Lauder hasn't been amazing at all this season, they're just in a slump right now. So I don't have any action on this game. Again, I think it's a huge, huge series for both teams this weekend. because they both need the games to pick them up in the wild card. But I have no interest in betting this in any capacity. I'm waiting until tomorrow.
I took the Cardinals team total under 2.5 in the first 5. You got to prove to me you can score a run. You're barely averaging 2 runs a game over the last week. Like you can't hit it. No problem. I am not laying a buck, what, 40, buck 50? Absolutely not. You got to prove to me, even against Rhett Lauder, that you can score runs before I'm running to the window to lay anything here. And I can't trust them. Started off great yesterday against Arizona. And yeah, the bullpen got involved, and McGreevy finally saw that regression hit, and just like that, they got 10 runs on the board, Arizona, before they knew what to do. And those empty net runs, they scored 6 yesterday, but if you watch that game, Tom, all of them were in the end when it meant it was 10-2 heading into, I believe, the 9th there. So, yeah, that doesn't count. But I was a big believer that the Cardinals were – I thought there was a lot of smoke and mirrors there. I think it's going to get worse as the season progresses here, because I think a lot of these guys, like the McGreevy's of the world, they've been pitching above their pay grade here. And sooner or later, that's going to come to fruition.
This is a team that, Craig and I have talked about a good amount on Pro Baseball Today, whether it's Palante, whether it's McGreevy, whether it's Kyle Late, like all of these pitchers were overperforming, and we were waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's like, they're getting away with murder, these Cardinals pitchers. It's like, how are you going 5 or 6 innings and giving up 1 run, but somehow you had 3 walks and 6 hits allowed? You only gave up 1 run. Like, how are you getting away with this? And this is a proving point for the Cardinals, because if their pitchers are regressing, which was bound to happen, and now their offense is struggling, this is where the bottom will fall out for them leading into the deadline, because they're in a good spot in the NL wildcard, but they can't have both of these things happen at the same time. If the offense struggled and your pitchers still could tread water, so be it, or vice versa. The offense could get through if the pitcher is okay, whatever. But now if both are failing, this is where they will drop completely out of the postseason race.
And it can happen quickly. And you know what? Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. A very winnable Central division here, one in which, let's face it, Cincinnati still got a little something to play for. The Pirates have a little something to play for, which makes this game coming up here in just a couple of minutes. They're getting ready for the first pitch. You got the Cubs and the Pirates. I think it's a huge weekend series, Tom, and I can't believe I'm saying that right now, but yeah, the Cubs and the Pirates are a huge weekend series, and Matthew Boyd versus Jared Jones gets it started here in just a couple of minutes. All right, we have a update. One more game out on the West Coast to go over with you as Game Time Decisions continues.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list at only, 8% right now on call sheet. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron. Listen, I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we're getting you ready here for a whole lot of Major League Baseball tonight. Huge slate across the board. In fact, we got one game likely in the books here now. 5-2, Colorado on top of the Brewers. Never say never, because it is the Colorado Rockies bullpen after all, and since Tella is in, and I don't know if they only score 2 runs here, the Brewers, I can't help them with that. But Boyd and Jones, Cubs versus Pirates underway, no score. Skubal going up against Kansas City. Noah Cameron will be the bulk reliever here as they opened up with a starter. They just getting underway, and Skubal, I think you and I, that was the one game I said, you know what, I'm going alternate market. I'll lay a 1.5 with Detroit in the first 5. I don't think Skubal gives up a whole heck of a lot here to this Kansas City Royals team who, are they sellers? Are we under the impression the Royals are selling anybody but Witt at this point?
They should be sellers, and they should be looking to move. Skubal has already 2 strikeouts in the first 2 outs of the game, and a strikeout per 7.5. So if you're back in the over, he's already got 2, looking to get 3. But the Royals should be sellers. And, you know, I've said this a lot on Pro Baseball Today, where Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha should be the primary targets for teams. And by no means do I think either of those pitchers are frontline postseason starters for any postseason-bound team. But they have plenty of experience. They're both veterans. Yep. A player such as them, a pitcher coming out of the bullpen and giving you 4 innings or 3 innings of relief that can pitch in a high leverage situation is what they can do. And also, you don't have to worry about them going through the order 3 times, because if you have a secondary starter and then they come and piggyback off that, that could work for teams. So the Royals should be looking to sell off Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha specifically. Obviously, you want to keep the core with Witt and Vinny Pasquantino and Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen, and that's what they want to build around. But between the injuries and the pitching staff being terrible, you have to sell them off and get something back.
Yeah, well, I don't forget, it was, Reagans, I believe, was hurt this year. So they had to go through, but they still never hit like we thought they were going to hit. And to your point, you know, there's still a lot of innings to be had between now and the postseason. And I'm sorry, Wacha and Lugo are perfect guys you can throw in there as number 3 or 4 guys, Tom, and they'll eat up the innings. They'll keep you on path, and they'll be great in any sort of postseason long series kind of thing. So, yeah, I think there are some options here for the Royals. I don't think we're going to see buyers out of either the Angels or the Giants, Tom. I think both of them are also going to be looking to unload any of these expiring contracts. And guys, it would be great if they put Trout up. Maybe if anybody wants to trade for Trout, it'd be great. Get him out of there. But the Angels taking on the Giants. Grayson Rodriguez taking on Logan Webb here tonight. That's our late game. I just don't know where the runs are coming from here. Neither of these two offenses, they're bottom third in every category in the last couple of weeks, or even worse than that for the season. Logan Webb has always been great at Oracle. He's had a rough July, but a lot of those were on the road here. Giants, I guess.
Yeah, Giants, I guess, is a great way to put it. But this is a big series for both teams in terms of showing off their best players for scouts that are attending this game. So Reed Detmers, I know he pitched the other day, but Reed Detmers, Jose Soriano, Zach Neto should all be traded from the Angels. Luis Arraez should absolutely be traded. No one's going to take the Devers contract. But these teams both need to be selling off players and getting assets back. The 8.5, I thought this game was going to be 7.5, but it's seeing 8.5 in this game with these offenses in this park, which is a fantastic pitcher's park. cooler temperatures, as it always is by the Bay in San Francisco. How are we dealing with an 8.5? So give me the under in this game. I think the Giants win. I think you could maybe look to back them. I don't know, first 5, you wanted to lay something on the run line with Logan Webb, but the under would be the play.
Yeah, I am with you there. 61 degrees, by the way, first pitch here tonight. The wind is always blowing out the right field, so don't get fooled with that. And they still can't score any runs here. The Giants, they got some pieces there they need to move. And by the way, the number 1 bullpen over the last 7 days, Tom, ironically enough, is the Angels. The Angels pitchers have actually done a really good job. And don't forget, a couple days, they took, 2 or 3 from St. Louis. And St. Louis shut them out on Wednesday. But I'm with you. I don't see where the runs are coming in this spot here, especially with Logan Webb. He's a ground ball pitcher on top of that at Oracle Park, going to make runs very difficult to come by here in this one tonight. We did see that, I believe, School got out of that top of the first ground ball. So now Detroit is up top of the, or bottom of the first, rather, going up against Way, right? Are we seeing it for just 1 inning here, Tom? Is that it?
Yeah, it was a Beck Way for Kansas City, and then Noah Cameron is expected to be the long reliever. And, this is what you're going to have to, I'm going to say handicap a lot more coming down to the end of the season as we approach the trade deadline in whatever it is, 7 days away, 8 days away, 9, 10 days away, whatever it's going to be, the August 3rd. But as we get to the end of the season, baseball can become pretty difficult to handicap just because we're going to be seeing pitchers that if you've been betting baseball, you've never heard of them. Like, you've never heard of Beck Way if you have been handicapping games until now. So this is a good, I would say, almost turning point in the season where we're going to see a lot of openers, a lot of just wacky things going on with teams. But it is good to get used to this coming down to the end of the wire, essentially.
Yep. We got underway, by the way, in Washington there. So this is Palmquist. He's another opener, to your point.
Yep.
Lefty. They'll bring in Zach Lytle, I believe, after that. I love both these offenses. I just don't understand how Washington is so good on the road and so terrible at home this year. They've been a cash cow on the road. When they're home, they can't beat anybody. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's because, their offense is great, so they always have to get out and run there. But when it comes to the pitching staff, I honestly think it might have to be the home environment for them because it's a good pitcher's park. It's a good hitter's park. So the fact that they have to be out there for 9 innings pitching, that's the issue for them. It's as simple as that sometimes.
Yeah. And that bullpen can't hold a lead. That might have another problem there as well. All right, we'll wrap it up as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list at only, 8% right now on Kalshi. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron. Listen, I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Good Lord. All right, welcome back in as we look to close out this edition of Game Time Decisions for you as Major League Baseball loaded slate here tonight. Some good games already underway. Yankees, in fact, at Citizens Bank in Philadelphia. They are underway, no score. Bottom of the first in that one. Our Scooble play here, Detroit already first and second. Nobody out in the bottom of the first. We're hoping they can get a couple of runs. We laid the 1.5 at plus money in the first 5, backing Scooble there. And it looks like we've got Washington. Palmquist, the lefty, walks the lefty Carroll. Now he's fallen behind again. They're going to need both of these openers, both for Kansas City and Washington. They're going to need the bulk guys to get in sooner rather than later, it looks like here, Tom.
They're going to need it. We just saw Beck Way, the opener for Kansas City. He took a ball off his leg or lower back, but he's staying in there. He just hit Dylan Dingler on the arm. So now we have bases loaded, no outs for the Tigers, and it was a Riley Green coming up. So again, if you are backing the Yurfee for Tigers Royals, you got bases loaded, no outs. You're certainly happy about that to start. Then to your point, if you're backing the Tigers in some capacity in the first 5, you're looking for runs right now. We did get a Nerfy through Cubs Pirates. They're in the top of the second. 0-0, and it's top first for Diamondbacks Nationals, as you said. Runner on second, only 1 out. So if you're looking for the Yurfee there, you could be cashing it in the top half of the first if that runner comes across.
We've seen, it has to be, the public is all over the Dodgers, and yet the line is moved towards the Mets. So that reverse line movement indicates they're thinking Sasaki versus Manaea, that the Mets have an advantage of some sort there at plus money. And the poor Marlins opened up as a favorite here, Tom, and it's a 20-cent move the other way here towards the Padres, who have been, and listen, they finally figured out how to put some hits together, and Machado I don't think is hitting $160 anymore. It was a great series for them against Atlanta, even though they didn't walk away with some wins. They, at the very least, were able to get some of the bats going here. But, man, when you're a young team, what is it, 9-game losing streaks feel like an eternity, Tom. Unreal.
They certainly do, especially the fact that this has extended to prior to the All-Star break when they were super hot. And then they play the Guardians and get swept by the Guardians. So they literally haven't won in weeks. And it probably feels even longer than that, to your point, just because the All-Star break was mixed in there as well. Riley Green for the Tigers just flew out to the warning track and had a grand slam robbed from him. They do get a run across with a sac fly. So a Yurfee cashes for Tigers. They get 1 run on the board. And so you get that across, but it wasn't a grand slam. It was robbed of a grand slam for Riley Green.
Needed 1 more run there, Riley Green. Would have been great to cover that 1.5, because I don't think Kansas City's scoring a run here against Scooble. But we do have, that's the only one where we got a score here as well. Arizona, I think they got out of the top of the first. No, they're still up. So first and second now, back-to-back walks by Palmquist is not great. But it would be nice if they were able to get out of the inning. I still think runs are coming in this game, Tommy, with Washington. I know you like the Nats at home, and I can't argue with that. But I do think we're going to get some runs in this one as well, no?
I do too as well. The offenses are too good to see this end as a 2-1, 3-1 game on really either side. Again, I'm on the Nats money line, and I think the over will certainly be coming through. We did just see the Tigers get another run across the board, getting 2 with a Lee RBI. So 2-0 Tigers in the bottom of the first, and they should be on cruise control with this For what, a 278 favorite, they've immediately jumped to minus 1100, which is obviously unbettable at this point unless you are looking to back the Tigers even further on an alt run line throughout the game.
I think we just got a home run by the Brewers, too, believe it or not. No, we did not. First and second, Joey Ortiz up now for the Brewers. So nobody out, first and second, down 3, 5-2, bottom of the ninth. So we said that bullpen. Jordan Romano is on the mound, which is not great at all. And we all know that for Toronto. So they're one swing away from tying that game up in Milwaukee, and how much fun would that be here? Coming up, too, you've got a couple of other big games. We mentioned Dodgers and the Mets coming up. I like Toronto and Boston. I think Boston's a good look in that game, and I like the Rays over the Guardians at the Trop because, let's face it, sometimes it's best just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Tom, and the Trop has been a moneymaker for us there. So a lot more Major League Baseball coming up. In-game live is straight ahead here on the grid. Enjoy the games. We'll see you again soon.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're much further down the list at only 8% right now on call sheet, but this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Scoogle, and that's going to be something that we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch